We know what workplace stress does to an individual, but what about an entire nation? In China, a soul-crushing work culture is breaking millions of people every day. It's called 996, the relentless expectation to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. But you don't have to live in China to feel this weight. Modern hustle culture is failing us all, leaving everyone exhausted, burnt out, and unfulfilled. But today, we're seeking a way out of the trap. And the first step to escaping a trap is understanding how it was built. 996 didn't happen by accident. It was born from a specific dream that turned into a nightmare. In the mid-1990s, China was the 8th largest economy in the world. Today, they rank second, and they're encroaching on the number 1 spot. Over the last 30 years, the Chinese economy averaged 9% growth annually, a pace typically reserved for small developing nations, not countries with 1.4 billion people. Their rise has been so profound that the World Bank called it the fastest sustained expansion by a major economy in history. But for every percentage point of growth, there was a dark human cost. In the 1980s, China made a deal with its workforce: sacrifice now, prosper later. For millions of Chinese people, this worked, at least on paper. Villages became cities, farmers became engineers, and parents who grew up with nothing were sending their kids to college. The economy kept growing, but even though the country was prospering, the later that was promised never came. In the 90s and early 2000s, tech giants started normalizing 996. Jack Ma, CEO of Alibaba, went so far as to call it a blessing, claiming, "Nobody ever changed the world on 40 hours a week." Others echoed Ma's statements, and over time, the brutal workplace expectations became normal. Sacrifice didn't end, it became standard, and now the bill is coming due. Housing prices are skyrocketing, cost of living has increased drastically, and wages haven't been able to keep up. 996 is no longer a way to get ahead, it's the only way to keep your head above water. And the millions of people who built the economic miracle are realizing they were never meant to benefit from it. They were simply the fuel for it. There's a phrase that took hold in China during the boom years. 速度就是生命, speed is life. For the workforce, this became a mantra. Maybe not out of choice, but certainly out of necessity. In China's hyper-competitive job market, everyone needed to operate at a breakneck pace. This is a country that produces millions of university graduates every year, all of whom are chasing the same job opportunities. Competition isn't just stiff, it's suffocating, and it's allowed CEOs to push their workforces even harder. Richard Liu, CEO of JD.com, stated, "Companies should eliminate 3 types of workers: those who fail to make sacrifices for work, those who are not performing well, and those who have a rather low price-performance ratio." Could you imagine your boss saying that to you? Analyzing you based on a price-to-performance basis, like you're a product on a shelf? As this standard became increasingly normal, the pressure became increasingly unbearable. In China, like many Asian countries, there's a concept called face, a social currency system where your perceived value is everything. In the workplace, showing weakness or admitting you can't handle the pressure causes you to lose face, which brings personal shame on not only you, but your entire family. One worker put it this way: "I couldn't accept the fact that others could bear it, and I couldn't." But the human body has limits. In 2021, a 22-year-old Pinduoduo employee collapsed and died on her way home from work. Her cause of death? Overwork. Something that's become so common, there's even a term for it in Chinese. 过劳死, death from overwork. But even the survivors are breaking, with depression and anxiety becoming epidemic among young workers. China doesn't publish comprehensive mental health data, but you don't need statistics when the evidence is everywhere. When describing her situation, one worker stated, "I'm getting quite numb. I only want to rest after work. I used to play the guitar. Now I just shower and swipe through social media in bed. I don't know what I'm looking at. Just swiping aimlessly." That's what burnout looks like. Not dramatic collapse, just slow eradication. The parts of you that made you human disappear, and they're replaced by exhaustion and endless scrolling. And this workplace pressure is negatively impacting everything, even the Chinese economy. When workers are burnt out and operating on autopilot, innovation suffers. When they have money but no time to spend it, earnings don't get cycled back into the economy. Meanwhile, birth rates are collapsing, marriage rates are plummeting, and an entire generation is opting out entirely. There's a counter-movement called Tang Ping, lying flat, where someone takes a low-effort job and minimizes their expenses to escape the rat race. Others go further with Bai Lan, let it rot, a form of pure nihilism where individuals stop putting effort into life entirely because the system is so broken. To fight against this, laws have been reinforced to limit overtime, and in isolated cases, courts have ruled against extreme schedules. But enforcement is difficult, and government intervention hasn't been able to stop the bleeding. And this begs a dark and powerful question. Can any of this actually change? Or will an entire generation sacrifice themselves for a prosperity they'll never benefit from? If 996 taught us anything, it's that the system won't fix itself. And this isn't just China's problem. Silicon Valley glorifies the grind, Wall Street celebrates all-nighters, and social media has rebranded exhaustion as ambition. We have internalized the lie that no matter how much we do, it never feels like enough. So how do we fight back? It starts with a radical realization. Your worth is not based on your productivity. This sounds simple, but it goes against everything modern society has conditioned us to believe. We've internalized the idea that our value as employees, as creators, as people, is measured by what we can produce. But that's a lie designed to extract everything from us until there's nothing left. The first act of resistance is setting boundaries. It feels impossible when you're drowning in bills or your boss expects instant replies. But when you work through weekends or answer emails at midnight, you aren't buying security, you're just raising the bar of expectations for everyone. Real change only happens when enough people refuse to play the game. In China, labor movements are growing, and even the Tang Ping movement, once dismissed as laziness by those in power, has become a form of quiet rebellion. In the West, we're seeing similar shifts, with the pandemic forcing millions to reevaluate what they're willing to sacrifice. And companies are starting to notice. Not out of kindness, but necessity. When innovation dies because everyone's too exhausted to think, suddenly work-life balance becomes good business. But we can't wait for companies or governments to save us. Individual choices compound into cultural change. Every time you choose rest without guilt, you give others permission to do the same. Every boundary you hold makes it easier for the next person. This isn't about abandoning ambition or giving up on your goals. It's about building a life that's worth living, not just enduring. 996 was built on a promise that was never kept. That happiness was just one promotion, one project, one sacrifice away. The system wants you to believe you have no choice, but every moment you reclaim is resistance, and every boundary you set is a crack in the foundation. You are not your productivity. You are not your output. You are not a price-performance ratio. And refusing to be treated like one, that might be how we all escape. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing to Easternized. Thanks for watching. Until next time.